Welcome to the first module of Public Finance. This module of Public Finance is about the government sector of the economy. In this module, it will focus on study of both the economic and political aspects of government. Major government expenditure programs will be analyzed, and alternative mechanisms for financing government activity and their economic effects will be discussed in this module, as well as issues relating to the government budget, deficits, and debt. So these are the learning outcomes, learning objectives. First is learn the role of government in society. Second is explain the trade-off between private goods and services and government goods and services. And last is to describe how the provision of government goods and services through political institutions differs from market provision of goods and services, and how government affects the circular flow of income and expenditure in a mixed economy. So let's discuss first the definition of public finance. Public finance is the field of economics that studies government activities and the alternative means of financing government expenditures. As you study public finance, you will learn about the economic basis for government activities. A crucial objective of the analysis is to understand the impact of government expenditures, regulations, taxes, and borrowing on incentives to work, invest, and spend income. So this module develops principles for understanding the role of government in the economy and its impact on resource use and the well-being of the netizens. So what is the objective of public finance? Public finance strives to achieve societal benefits like higher growth, wealth creation, and sharing factors controlling stability of income, property, and economy, etc. The objectives of public finance are achieved by managing and drafting policies pertaining to key areas such as taxation, management of public revenue and expenditure, raising and servicing public debt, fiscal administration at various levels. What are the key focus areas of public finance? So first is the financial management. So in financial management, collection of revenues from public and arranging the required finance together with allocation and use of public funds in an efficient and effective manner is the essence of public finance management. Next is the revenue management. So government revenues are from both tax and non-tax sources. Effective measures to increase revenue base and improvising revenue collection is important for effective management of public finance. Next is the expenditure management. Appropriating and usage of all the expenditures in a proper manner reflects the effectiveness of proper development and maintenance of the project as well as society. Misappropriation of funds by means of inflating bills, unnecessary expensing, allocating funds for discretionary expenses are common while spending public commingled funds. Next is the fiscal policy amendments. Government government finances are mostly burdened by budget deficits, and continuous leverage slows down current as well as future growth. Therefore, amendments to fiscal policies are necessary to rationalize and prioritize government operations for a sustainable economic growth. Another one is the regulatory changes. Continuous scrutiny and changes to underlying regulations is required to achieve and check targeted development. Next is public policy. Implementing and laying down sound policies is important for development of public as well as private sectors. Another one is the public debt management. All debts, either raised by the government or for public projects, has direct costs associated in form of interest as well as associated opportunity costs, which burdens the expenses. Effective management of public debt through restructuring and rationalization is required to control financing costs. And last is the process improvement. A systematic approach is required to help governments and public bodies to carry the operations and processes swiftly to achieve maximum societal benefits. So these are the key focus area of public finance. Let's define first the government. So what is a government? These are organizations formed to exercise authority over the actions of people who live together in a society and to provide and finance essential services. Next is the political institutions. These constitute the rules and generally accepted procedures that evolve in a community for determining what government does and how government outlays are financed. So let's discuss the positive and normative economics. The first, positive economics is a scientific approach to it is a scientific approach to analysis that establishes cause and effect relationships among economic variables. So positive theory attempts to be objective, making no presumptions about what is good or bad or what should be accomplished. It merely formulates hypothesis of the if and then. Ibig sabihin, so kung ito yung gagawin mo, ito yung mangyayari. So if and then variety that can be checked against facts. So that's the positive economics. Another one is the normative economics. So this is designed to formulate recommendations as to what should be accomplished. The normative approach is based on value judgments about what is desirable or what should be done to achieve the desired outcome. Normative theory begins with predetermined criteria and is used to prescribe policies that best achieve those criteria. The normative approach used in public finance theory is based on value judgments, embodying an individualistic ethic. So let's have an example. For example, suppose you support government-supplied housing with very heavily subsidized rents for poor families because you believe that such policies will enable them to enjoy better and larger apartments. If positive analysis can show that some persons might actually be induced to move into small, publicly provided housing units from larger apartments, you might reconsider your support of the public housing program. Similarly, you might favor rent control legislation to keep rents low enough so that the poor can afford to house their families. If, however, positive analysis predicts that such controls results in housing shortages and reductions in the quality of rental units available on the market, some poor families will be made worse off. If these predictions are borne out by the evidence, you might reconsider your support of rent control as a means of aiding the poor. So positive theory by itself merely embodies techniques of analysis, and so can benefit from the work of normative theorists by using normative guidelines to choose which areas of human interaction to analyze. Therefore, the normative approach is useful to the positive approach in that it defines relevant issues. Next is the discussion on the efficiency criterion. So these are the a summary for the efficiency criterion. So efficiency is a normative criterion for evaluating the effects of resource use on the well-being of individuals. It was developed by the Italian economist Vilfredo Pareto, 1848 to 1923. It is often referred to as the criterion of Pareto optimality. So Pareto efficiency or Pareto optimality is an economic state where resources cannot be reallocated to make one individual better off without making at least one individual worse off. Pareto efficiency implies that resources are allocated in the most economically efficient manner, but does not imply equality or fairness. The criterion represents a precise definition of the concept of efficiency. And last, efficiency means producing a desired result with a minimum of effort or expense. So let's have an example. First, assume that the well-being of any individual increases with the amount of goods and services that he or she consumes per year. It is easy to show how avoiding waste in production will help achieve efficiency. Given available amounts of productive resources and the existing state of technical knowledge in an economy, elimination of wasted effort will allow more production from available resources. The extra production will make it possible for some persons to consume more without reducing the amounts consumed by others. As a result, it would be possible to make some individuals better off without harming anyone else by avoiding waste in production. Another important aspect of efficiency is freedom to engage in mutually advantageous exchanges. If you are free to engage in transactions for gain, you can obtain more satisfaction out of your income. For example, suppose you have a collection of heavy metal rock compact discs you no longer enjoy. By exchanging those discs for a collection of classic rock and roll discs that you value more, you can become more content. If you find a person who really wants your heavy metal rock discs and has set of classic rock and roll discs you highly value, then both of you and your friend can gain by trading. Freedom to trade is an important aspect of efficiency. Both buyers and sellers can gain in markets when the value a buyer places on an item exceeds the cost the seller incurs by making it available for sale. Constraints that prevent resources being used and traded in such a way as to allow mutual gains will prevent achievement of efficiency. When efficiency is attained, mutual gains from reallocating resources in productive use or through further exchange of goods and services among individuals are no longer possible. So the criterion of efficiency is based on an underlying value judgment that individuals should be allowed to pursue their self-interest as they see fit, provided that no one is harmed in the process. So those who wish to intervene to prevent others from pursuing their self-interests disagree with this underlying value judgment. The individualistic ethic underlying the efficiency criterion, therefore, is not acceptable to all persons. Markets are organized for the purpose of allowing mutually gainful trades between buyers and sellers. A system, a system of perfectly competitive markets can result in efficient resource use in an economy. So ano ba yung perfectly competitive market system? So ito siya. All productive resources are privately owned. All transactions take place in markets and In each separate market, many competing sellers offer a standardized product to many competing buyers. Economic power is dispersed in the sense that no buyers or sellers alone can influence prices. All relevant information is freely available to buyers and sellers. And last is resources are mobile and may be freely employed in any enterprise. So kung ito yung perfect competitive market, when does market interaction fail to achieve efficiency? Government activity itself can cause inefficiency. For example, the taxes necessary to finance government programs can, as you will soon see, impair the ability of markets to achieve efficiency. The basic problem that causes inefficiency in competitive market is that prices do not always fully reflect the marginal social benefits or marginal social costs of output. This often occurs because of the nature of certain goods, which make them difficult to package and trade easily in markets. Markets will also fail to result in efficient levels of output when monopolistic power is exercised. A firm exercises monopolistic power when it influences the price of the product it sells by reducing output to a level at which the price it sets exceeds marginal cost of production. Taxes inherently disrupt the allocation of resources. While such disruption might be good, correcting an otherwise inefficient allocation, it can also disrupt what would be an efficient allocation. Inefficiency arises because a tax reduces the total amount of consumer surplus and product surplus, which is deadweight loss. The deadweight loss due to a subsidy is a form of economic inefficiency. It's a reduction in consumer and producer surplus and is a result of the fact that the subsidy costs more than the socially best amount of the that is produced. And what is produced is sold at too low a price. So let's discuss about market failure. So this is a preview of the basis for government activity. The following forms of market failure to achieve efficient outcomes are commonly used as a basis for recommending government intervention in markets or government provision of services. So first is the exercise of monopoly power in markets. When markets are dominated by only a few firms or by a single firm, the when markets are dominated by only a few firms or by a single firm, the potential exists for the exercise of monopoly power. To prevent monopoly control over price, governments typically monitor markets to ensure that barriers to entry do not encourage the exercise of monopoly power. Governments also often regulate the pricing policies of monopoly um, producers of such services like electrical power, natural gas, and water. Next is the effects of market transactions on third parties other than buyers and sellers. So when the effects are beneficial, government policies are often used to encourage production of the item benefiting third parties. This is often the case for education, fire protection, and inoculations for contagious diseases. Third is lack of a market for a good with a marginal social benefit that exceeds its marginal social costs. Government provision of goods is justified because of a conviction that the marginal social benefit of the good exceeds the marginal social cost at quantities that would result if the good were supplied through markets. Fourth is the incomplete information. We often demand that government intervene in markets because we have incomplete information about the risks of purchasing certain products or working in certain occupations. And last is the economic stabilization. Governments engage in monetary and fiscal policies in an effort to stabilize the economy, to correct for these market failures, to ensure full employment. Governments also seek to avoid excessive and erratic inflation that can erode purchasing power and can impair the functioning of financial markets. So that ends the discussion on Module 1. And if you have any questions, you may post it in our MS Teams, or you may send a message in our group chat so we can have our consultation. And these are the other references you may watch. For more explanation about public finance, you may follow this link. These are also included in the module provided to you. And before we end, I will leave this quote. Changes in policy that move the economy toward efficiency are often opposed because they result in a change in income distribution. Individuals opposing actions that improve efficiency act rationally. They are simply better off with a larger share of a smaller pie. To predict outcomes in any political process, it is necessary to know the benefits of any changes proposed, to whom they accrue, and what changes in the distribution of income result. So you can read this in the book of Hyman David, Efficiency Markets and Governments. So again, if you have any question, you may send a message in in our Teams, or in our group chat in Facebook Messenger. So that ends our presentation. Thank you for watching.